Well, it's not episode 38, it's episode 39, and welcome to episode 39. That's Mitchell Balla, and I'm Jordan McKelly, and we're the Cover Your Balls crew. Mitch, it's opening day. Mitch, it's April Fool's Day. It's a big day. You know, when we first started talking about doing a podcast or a show, we just wanted to do it for fun. We weren't doing it for the numbers, but, you know, it's only for the numbers now, clearly. You know, bringing in a lot of revenue, a lot of AdSense. So we're going to be putting out a lot more episodes soon. And, yeah.
There's just a lot of balls to cover. I mean, that's why we're going to do it.
Yeah.
People that don't cover their balls are sometimes the worst type of humans. It's very unhealthy. You know, they need to take care of their balls.
No doubt. Are they worse than this guy?
Oh, no.
They're not worse than that
He's
guy?
got some big balls.
Okay.
No, nobody has.
I just had to check Mitch. Mitch, our top four for today, top 4 for 4 is a little different today. That's a picture of Hugh Jackson. If that was a movie cover, what would you name that movie? By the way, guys, Mitch has not seen this yet. In my head, it's not on straight.
Okay, so we're saying movie, right?
Oh, yeah, movie. What do you got?
Movie.
I know it's a little...
So I'm trying to So it looks like a firefighter. So trying to think a little play on words. I mean, it's got to be something about sucking and you're on fire, because that's all he was. The only thing he's ever been good at is sucking. So right now I'm thinking maybe Hugh's gonna set this fire out in hell.
Okay. Ooh, I like that. Hey, everybody out in the ball pit out there, we'd love to hear your suggestions on what the name of this movie with Hugh Jackson would be called. Yeah. You know, we were going to have Sam on today, but unfortunately, Sam wasn't able to make it. So we're rocking Thursday a little different, Mitch. It's just me and you today. We're going to go to the ball pit to see what everybody else thinks. But how about this one? Now, this is a real photo. Okay?
Okay.
What do you think of this one? What do we got there?
Oh, for a movie title?
Yeah, well, after what game was that after, actually? All of them?
Probably all. Yeah, all of them. All of them. Every single one of them. Probably even the one they won, because he was crying because they won a game when they beat the Chargers.
Yeah.
So that's after all of them. Trying to think of like an emotional movie. I've never seen it, so I might get a little hate here from the ball pit, but I've never seen The Notebook, so I'm trying to think of something along those lines. So I heard it's a really good movie.
Oh, it's a
really
great movie. It is.
Is it a tearjerker?
It is a tearjerker. I've cried every time I've watched that movie.
How about we just name this one? Let's name this one.
Okay.
I Can't Coach Football.
I Can't Coach Football.
A very sad story about a man who thinks he can coach football, but he simply cannot coach football. What do we think about that one?
I think that's pretty accurate. And guys, the reason we had Hugh Jackson on as our top 4 for 4 at 4 is today's April Fool's Day, and there's no bigger joke than Hugh Jackson. I think we can agree upon that.
And not far behind is the Indians' offense. Don't forget that one.
Yes. What is that score right now, Mitch?
Currently, Indians are trailing, double check, 3-0 in the top of the 9th. Indians have no runs on 4 hits.
That sounds about right. It sounds about right. And thank God baseball's here, because, you know, football ended. And even though football's ended, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. But baseball is going to give us even more stuff to talk about. Mitch, you and I have talked about this topic that you and I are about to talk about right now in front of everybody in the ball fit in length already, off air. And it has to do with Michael Rapaport and Kevin Durant. For those of you who don't know, Michael Rapaport, who's a comedian / actor, had a spat with Kevin Durant a couple months ago in December. I think it was like December 20th, Mitch, is when...
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there, is when Kevin Durant was being interviewed on TNT with Shaq and Charles Barkley, and he didn't really respond to Charles. He was pretty rude. And so Michael Rapaport tweeted at him, calling him a bitch because of that. And then Kevin Durant literally went apeshit. I mean, he went nuts, right? He and it's not justifiably so at all. One, Michael Rapaport is like one of the worst. I can't stand Michael Rapaport. But I don't, because of that, I really don't want to talk about him, Mitch. I want to talk about Kevin Durant. You made a statement the other day that was a big statement. You said Kevin Durant may be the least mentally tough elite athlete we've ever seen. And so the question is, Mitch, do you stand by that? Do you still think KD is maybe the worst?
Yeah, I'll stand by that any day. I'll stand at it any day of the week, any time of the week, during any weather. It could be a hurricane, tornado, earthquake, tsunami. I don't care. I'll stand by that. He is the weakest minded superstar I have ever seen.
Okay.
And it's really not close. I mean, listen, we thought Kyrie Irving was bad with some of his things. Kevin Durant, let's put this into perspective. Kevin Durant, it is 2021, and you're drinking iced tea, White Claw with iced tea.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't think that I could drink it on air and not tell people what I was drinking. So, yeah, you know.
Would you recommend that to people? Because people probably care more about that than Kevin Durant.
They're okay. I expected them to be a lot better. Honest to God, I feel kind of dumb because after I bought them and started drinking them at the house last night, I was like, wow, this tastes a lot like a lot more like white seltzer than it should, like hard seltzer. And I was like, oh yeah, that's because these iced teas are hard seltzer. So they don't do tea justice. I'll say that they don't do tea justice. And peach is not a good flavor.
That seems a little odd. It seems a little odd.
It is.
You know what else is odd?
What?
A guy trying to still defend a move he made 5 years ago. So back to Kevin Durant. Enough about the White Claw iced teas, even though those look deliciously refreshing, and I'm sure they are.
They're pretty good.
It's 2021, and this man is still getting questioned. Which, listen, when you're a person of a public figure as high as Kevin Durant, I mean, he is justifiably one of the greatest basketball players there is in the NBA now. Some people consider him already an all-time great. But listen, you have people attack you every day, or you have people that love you every day when you're that big of a person. And right now, he obviously can't handle it because he's still taking backlash for joining the 73 Warriors after the 2016 season. He was exposed multiple times with burner accounts on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He went to Brooklyn to team up to show he didn't need to have a super team, and now all of a sudden is making a super team, and then is responding to DMs that were, first off, Michael Rapaport's a clown. Like, I mean, you and I am not a fan of him at all. I know a lot of people that aren't. But Michael Rapaport, Jordan, in these exchanges, from what we saw, really held himself together. I mean, this was not the typical Michael Rapaport you see on the streets of New York or getting in social media exchanges with other people. Kevin Durant can't handle criticism. I won't be shocked if I get off this episode with you and check my Twitter DMs because I posted our thumbnail on Twitter and tagged him. I won't be shocked if I have a message from him or somebody else with an AV that's an egg. It's probably Kevin Durant because he's a bitch. He's a weak-minded person that the only killer mentality he has is on a basketball court, and that's it. There is no killer instinct in that man anywhere else. He cannot take criticism, and if he doesn't get his way, he might be worse than Kyrie Irving.
Ooh, worse than Kyrie Irving. Man, that sounds crazy when you say that out loud. I don't know if he's worse than Kyrie Irving. All I know is that he hasn't been available. I mean, he's played 17 games in the last 2 seasons. And so maybe this Achilles injury was, and all his injuries he's had have been a lot worse than we've thought. I thought about that earlier today. I was like, wow, he's hardly played any games. Nobody has really said anything about that. The kicker to that is how much stress do you really have on yourself like right now? Like this, to me, when I'm in my off season, he's kind of in his off season, like, it's not that stressful. Like, why are you clapping back at people in your DMs, right? Like, your life can't be that stressful that you feel the need to berate somebody else. By the way, it's Michael Rapaport.
He's a clown.
Oh my gosh. Michael Rapaport is the absolute worst. So if there was one person you could ignore, it was the fact that Michael Rapaport slid into your DMs after a TNT interview. Okay? First of all, you knew going into the TNT interview that it was going to be like it was. And honestly, I thought Charles and them did a good job in the beginning at not making it. I thought they were going to make it just kind of a spectacle, just be entertaining, but be funny while doing it. I think that's what they were aiming for. He just wasn't having it. He takes everything so personal. I relate to that because I used to take things really personal. I still take some things personal. So I get it, but not to this level. This is, the cover of this thing was prima donna. I mean, he's nothing short of a prima donna. There's a guy who wrote a book. It's called Atomic Habits. It's by James Clear. It's one of my favorite books. And he always talks about why habits are so important. And it's because your identity emerges out of the habits that you have, the habits that you participate in on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And Kevin Durant is exactly what his habits say he is. He is so off the map, like on all things right now. And honestly, it's surprising to me. I thought Kevin Durant was really going to calm down once he got to Brooklyn. But, maybe it wasn't Russell Westbrook in OKC. Maybe it wasn't Draymond out there in California. And maybe it's not anybody else but Kevin Durant in Brooklyn. Because it seems like wherever Kevin Durant goes, trouble follows. And, that's the common denominator. I feel like that's easy slam dunk discussion. But I don't think he's that mentally weak at all. I just think he's untethered. Like, you have to be mentally strong. And taking things personal can help you get through a lot of things. But I think he is mentally strong. I just don't think anybody's been there to obviously show him what to do. By the way, don't you have people that are like supposed to make sure you don't do stupid shit? Like when you have millions of dollars, don't you hire people to say, hey, make sure, I don't jump in that pond after the 18th hole?
Well, no, he didn't because he doesn't like being told what to do. Where someone would come and say, hey, Kev, you might not, hey, you probably should do that. He probably fires him immediately because he doesn't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
So maybe everybody else does, but Kevin Durant. So point well taken. I think most people do.
Yeah.
But this could be a very big instance of where he doesn't because he's I brought up a thesaurus of different names for prima donnas for anybody who doesn't agree. So maybe he's a diva.
Oh, I like it.
Is he a diva?
Maybe.
They have opera singer on it. I don't know. Does Kevin Durant appear as like an opera singer?
Maybe.
Go
on.
Soloist.
Ooh, I like that.
So apparently these are all just like more singers. A superwoman.
What?
Is a synonym for prima donna.
Oh.
According to thesaurus.com.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I just want to throw this out there because some people might say he's not a prima donna, but a lot of people often say, well, he's this, when if you look up synonyms, it's literally the exact same thing.
No. Good point. Point taken. You know what else? Other point is taken? That the 76ers, Mitch, are 7-1 since the All-Star break without arguably the best basketball player in the world this year, Joel Embiid.
They have LeBron?
No, they don't actually. The 76ers, they're rolling, Mitch. You don't like them. You think they're frauds. I like them a little more than you, but I understand I understand how you've come to your conclusion. Has your conclusion changed? You've been given more data. You now know that the 76ers, without Joel Embiid, can compete with the rest of the NBA. That's not enough evidence for you?
No, because they're 7-3 in their last 10. Did you go ahead and look at the 3 losses they have versus the wins they have? Because their 3 losses are to 3 playoff teams.
Are they playing all NBA teams? Did they beat all NBA teams, or were there some WNBA ones in there?
Correct.
They're all NBA?
They're playing all NBA teams.
Okay,
but if we're
cool.
going to hold other teams to the same standard, and they're this great, they getting beat by the Nuggets, getting beat by the Clippers, getting beat by the Bucks, all in the playoffs. Well, yeah, you're going to beat the Lakers JV team. Yeah, you're going to beat the Warriors, who aren't in the playoffs right now. The Knicks, you beat by a point. Then you beat them by 3. You beat the Kings. You kicked their ass. It's not like they're beating good teams.
Kings are playing really well right now. The Lakers have won some games without LeBron and AD.
Are we saying the Kings are playing well because they beat the Cavs on a 3-point buzzer beater?
Definitely. That's the exact reason.
Okay.
No. All those teams you listen, none of them are like dog shit. They didn't lose to the Cavs the last game.
They play the Cavs tonight.
Well, we'll find out how that goes tonight. But you really don't have any more confidence in the Sixers right now.
I don't.
Of that.
Because their best player without Joel Embiid is a guy who can't shoot.
All right.
And that's what it is. Listen, they made the trade for George Hill. That didn't change my opinion on him. They got a better version of Austin Rivers is what they did. But a guy who we've seen year in, year out in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's fair.
listen, Joel Embiid was having a phenomenal year. I'm not taking that away from him. I've
sounds
seen
like you are, but go ahead.
And I'm not going to buy into the Sixers until they don't do what the 76ers do. And that's lose or just flat out choke in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really defend what they've done in the playoffs. The process has gone on for quite some time. Let me tell you what. I'm waiting for them to pop, but maybe it's just not going to happen. I honest to God do think if Joel Embiid is in their lineup, they could definitely take the Nets to 6 games. It's possible. They need to be healthy, though. They're a team that can't afford to have their superstar out. Not that any other team can. Well, maybe they can. I mean, they're 7-1 their last 10 games, Mitch. I know you don't like to hear that. I mean, they are 7-1 since the All-Star break. I don't know why you brought up their last 10 games, but it's okay.
First off, you just said 7-1 of their last 10.
7-1 of their last 8. I'm sorry.
Why can't I bring up their last 10? When you go onto a website, it says last 10 games.
Because it was before the All-Star break. Come on. It's not the same. It's like a different season almost.
Okay. So
the first half of the season, second half of the season, and then the playoffs. They're all really different.
All right, so they're just 7-1 then this half of the season?
As far as I'm concerned, the Sixers might be the best team in basketball. No, I know. I just think they're better than you think they are. And I'm trying to get you to come around a little on them because they're not going to get swept in the playoffs this year. It's going to be, they're not going to get swept in the first round. I don't want to say they're not going to get swept in the playoffs.
I was going to say, I hope they don't get swept in the first round.
Well, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
I mean, right now they're playing the Hawks. If they didn't sweep the Hawks, then there's a very big issue there.
I don't know if they will sweep the Hawks. It may be.
We're talking about teams in the playoffs with a losing record.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is. It is what it is. We're gonna pivot here. We're gonna pivot to something way more interesting than the 76ers. Recently, LA and Brooklyn decided to buy out every superstar left available. That led to Andre Drummond to the Lakers, which was the most recent move. But LaMarcus Aldridge, who's okay, got, I believe, bought out from the Spurs. He's with Brooklyn now, as well as Blake Griffin, who, in my opinion, has been playing really well. Mitch, in particular with the Brooklyn additions, LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin, do you think those two make them exponentially better, or could they have lived without him?
I think they could have lived without him, but do those two guys make them better? Absolutely. Anybody out there that says, no, they don't, you're wrong. Yeah, LaMarcus Aldridge is not what he used to be. But would you take LaMarcus Aldridge as your 5th or 6th option on your team? I sure as hell would. He had a stretch in the NBA where he was one of the great power forwards. Not all-time great, but he was one of the power forwards to be reckoned with in the NBA. I would gladly take that experience that he had in Portland and in San Antonio and put that on my team to either come off the bench or be the 5th option. Blake Griffin was a joke in Detroit. And you can see now through the X amount of games he's played in Brooklyn, he was not playing as hard as he wanted to in Detroit. Yeah. Jordan, you're going to give me that face.
Well, no. What does him playing, I don't understand what that has to do with him being in Brooklyn now.
Because in Detroit, he didn't dunk. His first game in Brooklyn, he dunked. So all of a sudden, he found his explosiveness again. All of a sudden, he's playing a lot harder because he's on a winning team again. Okay, Is
that a true stat? Was he really not dunking in Detroit?
No, his first game as a Brooklyn Net. There was a bet he dunked.
Well, I saw that alley oop that he caught.
He did not dunk in Detroit.
Yeah,
because he always said his knees hurt. Well, his knees look a lot better since he's gotten to Brooklyn. I can say that.
Oh my God,
guys! I'm not saying that Blake Griffin is what he was in LA. I still think he's been one of the most overrated players since he's come into the league.
100%.
I'm not saying LaMarcus Aldridge is what he was in Portland and what he was when he first got to San Antonio. But people out there that are downplaying this addition, what is wrong with you? That's the 5th and 6th option of the team. And yes, that means I'm putting Joe Harris above them because Joe Harris is a lethal 3-point shooter that when he plays alongside Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, when they're all healthy, he's the 4th best option because he spaces the floor. What LaMarcus Aldridge can do from the mid-range and what Blake Griffin can do when you have dump-off passes down low or when it comes to rebounding or high-flying dunks. These two additions made them better. I'm not saying that these are the guys they were in their primes, but for people out there saying, I'd rather have Jeff Green. No, you wouldn't. You don't want Jeff Green. You want guys that have been there and done that. And if you say you want Jeff Green, get the hell out of the ball pit.
Yeah, I don't know who said that, and I don't know if I
No
want
names, no names.
All
But if
right.
they're out there watching, they know exactly who they are. No names.
Yeah, that was yeah, that is that's a little blasphemous. But let me tell you what Blake Griffin's done since he's gotten in Brooklyn. This is kind of crazy. So, in 3 games, his value on the court for both teams, as of plus and minus, he's never been worse than 4th, and he's averaged 19 minutes. Versus Minnesota the other night, he was plus 13 on the floor, best out of anybody. Versus Portland the other night, versus Minnesota, he was first. Versus Portland, he was the second best guy on either team on the floor. So he's clearly not a liability. Is why I brought this up. That's it. That's the first thing I'm thinking of. As long as whoever you're bringing in is only making you better and not making you worse, and you can switch him on the floor, it's a great pickup. Well, Blake Griffin, much better pickup than LaMarcus Aldridge, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
And I've never been a huge LaMarcus Aldridge fan. I've never, if the Cavs or anybody were playing that I was cheering for the team that was playing LaMarcus Aldridge, I was never like, oh, shit, they're playing LaMarcus Aldridge tonight. I've never ever thought about that. I know people like to make that joke about Eli Manning, right? Ryan Clark does. But, I've never looked at LaMarcus Aldridge as an all-star, and I don't think many people really have. I think he's only been a one-time all-star, right?
Well, I'll fact check that while you.
Yeah, I think it's a one-time all-star. So, LaMarcus Aldridge is all right. He's definitely way better than anybody else they could have got. You know what? Maybe not. Here's the thing about this, is when you get people like LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin, they've played a role for so long and they've been the top dog for so long. I am worried about if it's enough time for Brooklyn and all these guys to mesh. And not just to mesh, but for people to understand their role on the floor. A lot of people believe that you just collect the most superstars, Mitch, right? And whoever has the most superstars wins. That's not always the case. Honest to God, sometimes you'd rather take 2 role players who are great teammates than even a superstar. I mean, that's not out of the question. So this is going to be interesting. And if everybody's healthy for Brooklyn and LA, if the Lakers can get there, it's going to be a hell of an NBA Finals.
Jordan, LaMarcus Aldridge is a 7-time NBA All-Star.
Maybe it's a one-time. Is it one-time first team then? Maybe that's it.
He's a 5-time All-NBA player.
5-time All-NBA. Is he? No way. Is he really?
Mm-hmm.
Man,
he has been playing since 2007.
See, I've never watched him play
at
his peak and thought he was that good.
See, when he was in Portland, I think his prime was for sure in Portland. Ever since he's gotten to San Antonio, I definitely think it's been downplayed a little bit. When he was in Portland, I thought he was very good. He's been one of the best big men to have a mid-range jumper, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
At the same time, he isn't. I don't know. When the Cavs could have got Kevin Love, there was always the rumor of LaMarcus Aldridge. Yeah. I was always a fan of getting Kevin Love because I think Kevin Love is a better player than Aldridge. But would you have settled for Aldridge as the third option? I would have.
Oh, absolutely. That's how I look at it now.
And so, LaMarcus Aldridge is the 5th option. I mean, 6th option, yeah, I'd take him. 5th, 6th option on your team.
For sure. He's just not. If he was as good as he used to be back when he was in his prime, then I would be a little more excited if I was a Brooklyn fan about this. But I also, like I said a minute ago, it's a lot of guys. It's a lot of guys. I mean, you remember when LA back in 2004, they were going for a 4-peat, and I remember when they went out and got Karl Malone. He was at the end of his time. They went out and got the glove. They got Gary Payton. And then I remember I believe they still had Derek Fisher on that team, Kobe. Anywho, the team was stacked, and they had a lot of guys who in their heydays were Hall of Famers. But they were Hall of Famers. Let me say that. Hall of Famers. Gary Payton, Karl Malone, way better than the guy. Yeah, I'm not even getting this. And another 2 were Shaq and Kobe, and they lost. They lost to the Pistons. Everybody on the Pistons had a role. Yeah. Tayshaun Prince was on their starting lineup. Tayshaun Prince. Pretty good guy. But Tayshaun Prince was on a starting lineup that beat that Lakers team. So sometimes just having the right role players is maybe better. So
I completely agree. You see it in almost all the sports. Listen, let's just talk about this in a different aspect. Gonzaga, they have dudes. They have 3 dudes that can beat you any which way. 2 of those 3 dudes are playing way below their average that they had in the regular season because they play as a team and trust the other guys. Their egos don't get in the way. That Lakers team, those egos got in the way because all of a sudden, Karl Malone and Gary Payton, they thought, well, now I'm surrounded by these other guys. I'm going to go back to what I was. Like, no, you're at the tail end of your career. And those egos got in the way. That Pistons team that beat them, they played as a team. Everyone knew their role and accepted their role. And that's sometimes what could backfire. And who knows? Who's to say that once Kevin Durant comes back and Blake Griffin all of a sudden is playing the best he has in the past 4 or 5 years, isn't getting his touches, isn't what it was when he got here. Who's to say the egos don't bump then?
Yeah.
And this thing falls apart. From a strictly talent standpoint, the Nets are far and away the best team and on paper. But that's why you don't go on paper. We saw that as Browns fans a couple of years ago when we got Odell Beckham. We were running up and down thinking the Browns were going to be this machine.
You called me. You called me. You FaceTimed me when
Cleveland.
I was when I was living in Colorado, and I remember I was thinking about this the other day. I was in a park when you called me, and I was screaming because, I mean, obviously you and I knew the magnitude of that addition to the Browns. Plus, we don't attract or get anybody.
No. Right.
So,
but I mean,
good point.
Sometimes it's the head coach, which it was Freddie Kitchens from what it looked like, and other times it's strictly players not accepting the roles and butting heads, and so. And like Odie says, that's why LeBron's so great. He doesn't listen. He has an ego.
Yes, I was gonna. Yeah.
However, he's able to maybe lessen it a little bit, but also show everyone else their role. I mean, we've talked about it before.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really have it before he went to Miami. And I think when he went to Miami, I still say this, when he went to Miami, it was like he went to college because he went away for 4 years, came back, was bigger, better, smarter, strong, like just. He knew what he was doing there.
He went to college. I mean, Miami was his college.
Yeah, he went to the U.
He was the only one to go to the U and never, not once get arrested. The only one ever.
Only one
ever. Speaking of the U today, this was I think the anniversary of Sean Taylor, the great Sean Taylor. So was it maybe it was his birthday, or maybe it was I think it was. So shout out Sean Taylor from the U. Mitch.
No, I was about to say LBJ.
LBJ. Mitch, we're about halfway. Actually, before we get go to your headlines, let's go to this real quick. Guys, we are going to have a raffle for that shirt. I don't want to call him by that nickname anymore because I don't want to. I don't think he likes the nickname. But Kyle Nicholas, our guest that we had on episode 38, he answered the question of who won the World Series in 2000, which was the New York Yankees with Scott Brocious. So we are going to give a shirt away at the end of the show. So stick with us. At the end of today's show, somebody's going to get a shirt, and keep a look at on our Instagram and our Twitter because we have the March Madness bracket coming down, and the top 3, remember, guys and gals, they get prizes. So stick with us this year while we do that. Mitch, you ready to rock this out?
Oh, I'm ready to rock it out.
Time for your headlines.
Jordan, first things first, let's touch on the title of our show.
Yeah.
Roy Williams, University of North Carolina icon, the head coach after 33 seasons today, announced he is stepping down. And no, to everyone's knowledge, it is not an April Fool's joke. Jordan took his first loss in the first round ever in the NCAA tournament as the coach of the Tar Heels. What are your thoughts on him stepping away? Good move, bad move for Roy Williams, and thoughts on the legendary head coach?
Listen, it's a great move by Roy Williams. I mean, there's so much more than just coaching basketball. He's done it for so long. Go spend time with your grandkids, your family, your kids. Statistically, he is one of the best coaches ever. I can't argue with that. You know, he's done it at multiple places. Not many people have ever done that. So shout out to Roy Williams. You will go down as one of the best coaches ever. Big
shoes to fill for whoever North Carolina hires next.
For sure, no doubt. Hopefully, some of these other schools can get their head coaches out like Roy Williams. We can get some new blood in.
Hey, you said it, not me. But hey, we're going to stay in college basketball where Michigan head coach Juwan Howard was named AP Coach of the Year, Jordan. Is he the Coach of the Year?
If Gonzaga doesn't win, probably. I mean, if Gonzaga wins, you'd have to give it to their head coach, right? I mean, they haven't lost a game. When's the last team to go undefeated for an entire season?
76.
1976. It's been a long time. Mitch, what was that team?
The Indiana Hoosiers.
Indiana Hoosiers. Is that when they had Bird?
No. Larry Bird didn't play at Indiana. He played at Indiana State.
Oh, that's right. He played. Yeah, that's right. Wow, shame on me. He didn't play at Indiana.
No.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
I agree with you. I listen for what Michigan went through with their athletic department shutting everything down, which was out of coaches' controls in all sport.
Yeah.
Because of COVID positives throughout the athletic, facilities and everything. Being able to rally his team back, and then listen, they played in the gauntlet of the Big Ten, which I know the Big Ten didn't have a strong showing in the tournament, but he had his team ready to go, and they already have one of the top, if not the top, recruiting class next year. So
good for him.
While I think Mark Feud is, should be under consideration, I think part of the voters probably shied away because we've seen Gonzaga get to this spot before and never capitalize. I think that's also a big reason why it was Juwan Howard and not him. Jordan, player of the year, resides in the Big Ten as well. Luka Garza, Iowa's center, named AP Men's Player of the Year, earning 50 of a possible 63 first place votes. He finished second last year. Was this the right winner for the Player of the Year?
Yeah, the Big Ten has a lot of great players. Can you go wrong with Luka Garza? No, you can't. I mean, his last game, he scored 36 points. He was 14 for 20 from the field. He played nearly a perfect game, and they still lost by 15. So if that gives you any context to maybe who's working around him, take it for what it is. I think they did a good job. I'm happy for him.
Yeah,
well deserved.
I think we've debated before what we think he'll be at the next level, but that's not to take anything away from his collegiate career at Iowa.
He was 4 years,
yeah,
right?
4 years.
Shout out.
4 years.
Where do you get your degree?
Yeah, I also believe I want
to get it.
Now, somebody out in the ball pit will fact check me. If Mitch Farnsworth is watching or listening, he'll be able to tell me if I'm right or wrong. I want to say Iowa has already announced they're retiring his number, so nobody will ever wear whatever number he was ever again at the school. Which that's pretty big. Usually you wait, X amount of years, get your number retired. For you to end your career and already know your number's retired, that's a pretty big deal in my opinion.
That's awesome.
One of the best players, the best player perhaps in Iowa history, and maybe one of the best in Big Ten history. But moving on, Jordan, let's head to New York, where former Indian shortstop Francisco Lindor, he doesn't like being called Frankie, my apologies, signed a 10-year, $341 million deal with the New York Mets last night. His goal was to have this contract extension signed before the start of the season, putting the pressure on the New York Mets, who originally offered 10 years, $325. Lindor countered with 10 years or 12 years, $385. They met at 10, $341. That one is a big deal because it means he's the highest paid shortstop in all of baseball. What is your opinion on this deal?
I want to walk over in the corner of this room and I want to grab my Frankie jersey and I want to rip it in half.
Francisco. It's Francisco. Come
on. I don't care what he wants to be called. All I know is that I was on Twitter today and I heard somebody complaining about how much football players get paid because of how much baseball players get paid. Hey guys, all these guys get paid millions of dollars. We don't feel bad about anybody. This is ridiculous. This is this type of money is, I don't even know what to say about it. When I saw it, I was like, I think he's really good, Mitch, but I don't even think he's like a superstar deal good for money, in my opinion, but listen, it is what it is. He's not this good. He's not that good.
I've been adamant on it for years, and people hate me for saying it.
Not that good.
He's a superstar. And everybody has a superstar on their team, but he is not worth this money. He's not the best shortstop in baseball.
No way.
He has choked way too much in the playoffs. 2016, he thrived, as did almost everybody on the Indians roster. 2017 had one hit. It was a big home run. Where was he in 2018 and where was he last year? Nowhere to be found. Last year, he absolutely crumbled. He admitted that he didn't try his hardest, which is how you reward a player to be the top paid shortstop in baseball after he already admitted he didn't try his hardest is beyond me. But then again, I'm not the owner dishing out the money. That's on Steve Cohen. That's his battle to fight over there. Listen, I'm not taking anything away from Frankie. He's great, but is he worth this money? I don't think so. And I think the New York Mets are going to regret this within the next 5 years.
I think
I
you're
really
right.
do. And we'll see what happens. Jordan, Indians did lose their season opener today 3-2. Just went final a few moments ago. Shane Bieber, however, gave up 3 runs in a blizzard, settled down, had over 12 strikeouts. So after the first inning and we'll say a third, regained his Cy Young form. But the Indians can't score again off a guy who led the majors in earned run average last year. After one game, is this what we're going to see all year from the Cleveland Indians?
I told you this is what we're going to see. Don't ever ask me that question again. They have nobody batting. They might as well go up there with a giant cucumber as a bat. Like, this is going to be a dirty season. This is going to be Tito's worst season as a major league coach. And you're going to... Yeah, watch how bad our bats are. Okay, we're going to have to get this movie, get Joe Boo out to awaken the bats. Because right now we're not scoring enough runs. In the next 100 games, we're not going to score enough runs. Just wait for it. It's going to be a sad season. I'm not going to not watch the games. I'm going to watch them, and I'm going to go to them. But I still think we win 68 games this year.
Oh, wow. Very low. We'll have to wait and see. Jordan, to college basketball once again, where we didn't touch on it on Monday because we were talking so much baseball with our guest Kyle Nicholas, who, by the way, if you missed that episode 38,
unbelievable.
Go back on YouTube, watch it. If you're on Spotify, Apple, go back and listen to it. Phenomenal interview from one of the Miami Marlins top prospects and good friend of the show and good friend of mine, former teammate. Just great. So I recommend you go back if you missed that. But Jordan, we missed that Shaka Smart, former Virginia Commonwealth, had put him on the map, VCU, left for Texas and has been nothing but average at Texas, said deuces and went up north and is now the head coach at Marquette in a stunning move. So one, touch on that, but not before. Texas has already hired a head coach. They lured away Texas Tech head coach Chris Beard. What are your thoughts on Shaka Smart leaving and then Texas landing Chris Beard, who had taken Texas Tech to the Final Four just a few years ago?
Shaka Smart knew the writing was on the wall. He didn't have much time left in Texas. Why not leave before you get fired? He saw what happened to Todd Herman. Honestly, when Shaka Smart came in Todd Herman, it was very similar situations, I believe. And honestly, both jobs are two of the best jobs in all of college sports. They're coveted jobs. So if you can't get it done there, they're not going to give you just a surplus of extra time. You know, they're not going to give you enough time to do what Hugh Jackson did in 2 years in Cleveland. Like, if you suck, they're going to get you out. Shaka Smart hasn't sucked, but he hasn't been near what he was at VCU.
No,
with worse athletes. So that's kind of, I honestly, I think it's a good move for Shaka Smart getting out of there, and it's an even better move for Texas. Getting possibly a better coach in there. I thought Shaka Smart was a great coach, but maybe, what do I know? We'll have to see if this guy can get it done.
I agree. Listen, I think Chris Beard is a great hire for Texas. Kind of shocked, he jumped from a school in the conference to go to another school because he was really putting Texas Tech on the map when it came to basketball.
No rule to that, huh?
Apparently not, but if you're a player, you know how that goes. Enter the transfer portal. No, you can't go to this school in the conference, huh? Kind of weird, though. Kind of weird. Speaking of that, Jordan, and the NCAA, there has been rumors that after the conclusion of the Final Four, which we're going to touch on here shortly, that some vocal NCAA players, we saw Isaiah Livers in Michigan having a shirt on at the Final Four that said, not NCAA property. Multiple players have called meetings now with NCAA President Mark Emmert to try to force their way for the player likeness, image, everything getting compensated, for it to be pushed ahead for people signing their national letter of intent deals for the 2021-2022 season. Do you think the NCAA will budge at all?
What the NCAA needs to do is figure out how to monetize these players before they lose these players entirely. And so if I'm the NCAA, I'm figuring out how to put a system together so that we can here's the deal. You're going to have to evolve, or they're just or the universities and the presidents have no need for you anymore as a business, because that's what the NCAA is. It's a business, right? And if they're not going to support the players and really play ball with the presidents and the schools, the NCAA is not going to last much longer. So I think they have to. I don't think it's a poor move either. I think it's a smart move. How about you,
We'll have
Mitch?
to see what they decide to do. Listen. I think they're going to have to. Or Jordan, we've seen all of a sudden the NBA, the G League players are able to go there from high school, and all of a sudden, I believe, is it Jay Williams we talked about a few days ago or off the air that he's creating his own league with money, or there's some former college player. There's going to be all these different types of avenues for high school basketball players specifically is what I'm talking about, to go make money on their own before they turn professional. And we know there's some great athletes who come up from nothing, and their first thing in mind is to make and provide for their family.
No doubt.
And so there's going to be kids now who skip college and go these routes, and the NCAA is going to lose out on big time high school basketball prospects that would put schools and generate money for TV revenue from college basketball standpoint on the line.
And it's been happening. Yeah.
NCAA is going to have to make a move here, and if they don't, they're going to be the big loser. Well, they're going to have to get out of their own way, which they haven't yet.
No, they haven't. You're right, Mitch. You said that perfectly. And it's happening. It's happened for a long time. People just don't, unless you follow your specific team closely, you don't realize that if you have a good player, like while they're leaving. I remember when Luol Deng left for Duke when JJ Redick was on the team with Sheldon Williams. He left after his rookie year because he needed to provide for his family. Had literally his mom, dad, everybody, because he was trying to bring his family over from another country. That's not that uncommon. You would think the NCAA would want to hop on this as fast as possible because it's happened for a while, and now they're going to pay for it.
Then again, the NCAA is the same organization that cares about the players, but until you try to transfer to get back home close to a mom that is perhaps sick, they'll deny your hardship. So they're a piece of shit is all I'm saying. That's a story for another time, Jordan. Speaking of a potential POS.
Yeah?
Jordan, Deshaun Watson is now facing over 21 sexual misconduct lawsuits. And according to CBS today, the quarterback is also accused all of a sudden of deleting key evidence to all the cases. What we thought could have been something self-inflicted by the Houston Texans when it was just a few reports has all of a sudden spiraled out of control and has made him look worse and worse. I had came on a few weeks ago with absolutely no information at all, saying I started to wonder if he requested the trade to get out of Houston because of something like this happening. Jordan, every day that goes by, it looks worse for Deshaun Watson. Are you confident he'll be playing quarterback for anybody this season?
Sadly, yes. I am confident that he's going to play quarterback for somebody this season. What evidence do they have necessarily? The only evidence that I've heard they have, the lawyer won't actually even show the Houston Police Department because the Deshaun Watson's lawyer's son is a deputy at that police department. So I don't know how this is. So actually, no, I changed my answer. Now that I've thought through this a second time, I wish I would have thought about this before the show, but I don't think he will play now because I think he's probably going to be on the exempt list until they figure this out. Because how can you let someone play with such heinous things just hanging in the distance, right? And that's not very responsible.
Especially if you can prove that he is deleting evidence now. Once you start deleting evidence, you're messing with an entire case, and you're just starting to show you may be guilty. Listen, whether I think Deshaun Watson was a top 5 or is a top 5 quarterback has nothing to do with my opinion on him when it comes to sexual assault or assaulting women in any right way. If this turns out to be true, there is no place for him in the NFL, and there shouldn't be. We've seen guys for assault be suspended or kicked out of the league before. We've seen Josh Gordon be suspended multiple years for drug abuse, and this is worse than that for sure.
Oh yeah.
Moving on though.
100%.
Just we'll do one more. We've had a lot of headlines. Gordon, Miami Marlins. We had Kyle Nicholas on the other day. Well, it looks like Kyle Nicholas is going to be playing his home games in a few years once he makes it to the bigs in a new ballpark.
Ooh.
Well, a new ballpark name. The Miami Marlins name immediately, according to SI.com, has become the most ridiculous MLB ballpark name. Their park now is called, wait a second, I lost it. Oh, Lone Depot Park.
No, they'll be able to come up with a cool nickname for that. That's not that bad. No, that
is the name.
I know.
That's Lone Depot. Oh, you think they're going to have a nickname for it?
Oh, they'll figure it out. That's not, yeah. They'll make it work. The Marlins will make it work.
A lot of people out there on SI.com are actually furious at the fact that the L in Loan Depot is lowercase, but the D in Depot is uppercase.
I mean, that's a sponsor. I mean, the name of the stadium is going to be after a sponsor, right? So I don't know why people are upset about that.
Because people are offended by everything nowadays.
That's true.
That's all there is to it. You actually offended me by the fact that you didn't know that people were offended by that. I'm actually very offended right now.
Oh, Mitch, I'm so sorry.
So
yeah, you're just April Fools. You're just gonna have to get over it.
Yeah, good thing it is April Fools, and good thing we don't offend each other.
That
Jordan,
is true.
I'm gonna hang up the headlines for today.
All right, Mitch. Thank you for your headlines.
Of course.
Those are solid. Those are really solid. The Final Fours here. 4 teams left: Gonzaga, Baylor, Houston, and the number 11 seed play-in team, UCLA. The odds look a little like this: Gonzaga at -225, Baylor at +375, Houston at +600, and UCLA at +25, which makes UCLA a 25-1. Man, the odds to win the championship. Mitch, who do you have in these final 2 matchups for UCLA versus Gonzaga and Baylor versus Houston? Who you got?
Well, Jordan, it didn't matter who was coming out of a region to face Gonzaga because I was taking Gonzaga all the way. They've been my winner all year.
I have.
I think they're the best team in college basketball by far. So I'm going to take them over UCLA. Listen, UCLA is making history. The second team ever. I misspoke, I believe, on our episode on Monday, so I'm going to correct myself. I said they were the first team ever to make it to the Final Four from the first 4. They are the second. The other team was a Shaka Smart-led VCU team that did it way back in the day. So they're making history right now. They had somewhat of an easy first 2 games after Michigan State, BYU, Abilene Christian.
It couldn't have got easier for them.
Then beat Alabama, and then beat Michigan, which we can talk about that Michigan UCLA game because there's a lot of things that was going on in that game. But Gonzaga will beat UCLA. Okay, Gonzaga is the biggest favorite in Final Four history in a Final Four game. 13.5-point favorite, and spread is what I think it opened up as, which is the largest ever. Baylor Houston's going to be good, Jordan. The bragging rights for the state of Texas are on the line. I mean, these are two schools that aren't too far from each other.
I hadn't even thought of that.
I think Baylor's the better team. And if you told me that Baylor and Gonzaga would play in the national championship, I'll move everything I have on that Monday night and everything I have that Tuesday morning, because I think that has the potential to be one of the best national championship games in college basketball that we've seen in a long time.
Well, Mitch, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but that won't be the national championship game. The national championship game will be played between UCLA Bruins and the Houston Cougars. I don't know why you're laughing, because I have Houston in the championship in my bracket. So
you had Alabama.
Yeah, but I had Houston. I can still win my bracket. Everybody out there in the ball pit, check this out. I lost my champion in the Sweet 16. If UCLA beats Gonzaga and Houston beats Baylor, I win my bracket with a champion that was out in the Sweet 16, and everybody in the ball pit out there, you're never going to hear the end of it if I win with like 980 points in this March Madness bracket. You'll never hear the end of it, ever.
I do want to say, I think Gonzaga wins. I am going
they're going to win. They're going to
drive to a border and where sports betting is legal because Ohio can't figure that shit out. I'm going to go over there and I'm just going to put, a couple bucks on UCLA on the off chance they win because it's just a massive payday. I'm doing it.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's a lot of money. What, 25-1 odds? I'm in a really precarious position. I'm so excited for these games. I do think, if I had to put my money down, and this is how I always differentiate between am I serious about a bet or am I not serious about a bet? Where's my money going? If I had to put my money, Mitch, my money's obviously going, first of all, if I had to stick my money on either game, obviously I'm sticking it on the Gonzaga game. I don't know if UCLA has a chance. I'm going to watch it as if they do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go buy a UCLA shirt at the mall. I'm sure the mall has it, right? Haven't been to the mall in a decade, but I'm sure the mall has a UCLA shirt. I'm ready for the game.
I hope it's a good game. I really do. But listen, I also thought USC had a real good chance to keep things close against Gonzaga.
I did too.
Gonzaga just said, hey, the JV teams are playing down at Hinkle Fieldhouse or Bankers Life, wherever they were at in Indianapolis, because it wasn't a game. And Gonzaga has embarrassed everybody they've played in the tournament. They really have.
They have. And that's the second game. So that is the headliner game Saturday night. Mm-hmm. That's at 8:34. The UCLA versus Gonzaga, because they are out. It was going to be played out there because Gonzaga's in the West, right? And then, and then we have Houston versus Baylor, and that's the 5:14 game. Wish they would move these games up a little earlier. God, 11 o'clock. Man, that 8:34 is like 26 minutes away from my bedtime, Mitch.
Mine too. You know how many times you text me at like 9 o'clock and I don't answer till 5 a.m. the next day when I'm up because
all the time.
Sleeping.
Well, sometimes you text me back at like 4:30. It's not even 5. Like I see a light across my room go off early in the morning and I can see my clock. I'm like 4:34. Phone goes off. It's obviously probably Mitch. There's only a couple people up at that hour of the day, anyways.
Built different. What can I say?
It's a little different. It's definitely a little different. Mitch, go ahead.
I was gonna say. Back to the Houston Baylor game. I think that game should be closer than Gonzaga UCLA.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Houston's really impressed me. Listen, I don't want to say they got lucky, but they really did in the round of 32 when Rutgers tried to stall up 2 for the last 3 minutes of the game. Like Rutgers was beating them all game, and Rutgers is like, "Hey, we're gonna stall the last 2.5, 3 minutes up 2." Well, how'd that work out for you, Rutgers? I mean, Rutgers had that game, but credit to Houston, they didn't give up, and they ever since then they've run through everybody else, and this is going to be a really good game. But ultimately, I think Baylor's way too athletic, and if they're hitting their threes, if Baylor's hitting their threes and they're on defensively, that is the one team that can stop Gonzaga.
Well, and I think they're definitely going to be on defensively. The question is, are they going to hit those threes? Because they weren't even hitting. There's been 2 games where they haven't shot necessarily that well from beyond the arc, and they've suffocated teams. Gosh, I used to when I watched Mitchell play defense. Have you watched Baylor play a couple times so far?
Yeah, okay. That's one of the teams I saw.
Okay, when I watch him play defense, all I can think of is how I played defense as a kid, because my goal was always to get in people's head, get as close to him as possible, and just push him around, even as a little guy. And let me tell you what, it throws everything off. And if you have everybody on the same page doing that, and everybody on Baylor's team does that, if they do meet Gonzaga, I like Baylor versus Gonzaga because of that. I know that they're so close, but I do like Baylor if they get there versus Gonzaga. And it's because of their defense.
That's a game that was supposed to happen earlier this year, Baylor versus Gonzaga, but it didn't because I think that's when Baylor broke out into their COVID stint. So we had a chance to see the national championship preview perhaps earlier this year that it never happened.
Crazy.
So this is a game that I think, besides fans of Houston, UCLA, and fans of brackets, I think this is what people want to see. Gonzaga versus Baylor. And I really do. I'll stand by it. There's some other people out there that think this has the chance to be one of the best national championship games ever.
If it's those 2 teams, it will 100% be 2 of the best teams I've ever seen in my lifetime. So I don't think that's a far-fetched thing to say at all. These teams are really talented, and not necessarily it's tough because I don't know if the field is as strong as I've seen it in the past, maybe. But all I know is these 2 teams. There's no other 2 teams like them. I agree. Baylor
gritty on the defensive end, and Gonzaga works through their plays and gets the best shot they can.
Yeah,
and they will either pound you down low with Drew Timme and that mustache, or Jalen Suggs, Corey Kispert, and company will just kill you from the mid-range or behind the arc. It's actually fun basketball to watch.
That mustache is serious. It's a very serious mustache.
It is.
Very serious.
Is there anybody that's made a shirt with that thing on it? Like any sort of joke? Because like usually you see people with like weird outfits or facial hair, and there's a shirt or a hat, and I haven't seen anything.
Go to Etsy. Etsy is the place for that these days, apparently. It's what the kids on the streets say. I don't know if you've ever shopped at Etsy.
Isn't that where Lil Nas X's shoe designer just did those devil shoes, and now he's being sued by Nike?
Can you explain this to me? Can you explain this? I mean, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's Nike, it's sports. There's a rapper out there that supposedly made devil shoes. Explain this, Mitch, because nobody else. There's probably a lot of people out there who are going to listen who have no idea who this guy is.
So Nike released the shoe, which I'm going to Google it while I'm telling you this because I don't want to but it's some type of Air Max, right? So Nike releases all these shoes. They bought X amount of shoes and gave them to a designer that is not associated with Nike at all and did not get Nike approval. So the Nike switched it. Keep in mind, they bought those shoes and they made 666 pair. That included 1 drop of human blood in the sole. And some other, devil or evil type design on it and sold them. And then Lil Nas X released the music video for his song Montero. I kind of want to recommend for everyone to go watch it at the same time. That would make me look like a horrible person. I was somewhat forced to watch it. If you're a strong individual, I'd say go watch the music video. It's a tough watch, and you'll view Lil Nas X extremely different. You really will. So he released that, one of the most controversial music videos ever. And then he sold these shoes, 666 pair for $1,000 each. They sold out with under a minute. And Nike is suing them for defamation and something else.
So I can't buy. Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Because it made Nike look like they're selling devil worshiping shoes.
No, it definitely did. I mean, there was a lot of athletes who came out and immediately said, I want to burn my stuff. By the way, any athlete who came out and said that, you're dumb and you're not allowed to come on Cover Your Balls ever if you're going to burn your Nike stuff because of that. Has nothing to do with Nike at all. Wear your clothes. Cover your balls.
First off, cover your balls.
Cover your balls.
First off, you got to do that first.
Mitch, it's about that time. Guys, this is a little earlier than normal. April Fools, we have 15 minutes left. No, not really. We're actually going to end this up, and we're going to get into the last segment, one of our favorite segments. Mitch, you have anything else to say before we get into this segment?
I just had a random question. It has nothing to do with sports.
Yeah. Shoot.
Why is it when it rains outside? Like, why does it smell like ass? You ever realize that?
No, I've never gone outside.
When it rains, it just smells.
No, not like ass. No, it's never ever. I love running in the rain. Maybe I love ass then. I don't know. I've never gone outside, and I've never. Yeah, I have heard somebody else say that though. So you're not crazy. You're not crazy.
Somebody else out there in the ball pit right now has to agree with me that when it I'm not talking like a light drizzle. Like
you're fishing right now. You're fishing.
What? I'm not fishing.
Oh, you want somebody to come in the comments. You're fishing for it. Good.
I just want to know if I'm the only one out there that thinks when it pours throughout the night and the next day, it just smells. And why does it smell? Do we have any meteorologists out there in the ball pit? Do we have any scientists out there in the ball pit that can really tell me why it smells so bad? Because I went out the other day to get the paper after I got home from the gym. It's like 7:30 in the morning. It's like, yo, this smells awful out here. You got worms everywhere, slithering on the driveway and in the streets. And it's just like, I don't know. It's been on my mind. And you asked me if I did anything else. And that's something I need to throw out there,
Well, I appreciate that. I haven't seen a worm in quite some time. And with they're pretty big.
Oh, there was a big one on the driveway the other day when I got the newspaper.
You know what else is big?
Who has bigger balls?
These two. Mitch, you have a candidate today?
Oh, I got a candidate. Maybe not a top of the line candidate.
Okay. Who's your candidate? Who you got?
My candidate is a man by the name of Mike Wenner.
Okay.
Now, Mike Wenner writes articles for a website called BGR. First off, the title of his article are "There Are X-rays Coming from Uranus." And then the opening is "Uranus is big, cold, and mysterious."
What are we talking about right now?
That's what I said. And apparently he was talking about the planet Uranus.
Yeah, I don't. That's
just a very bizarre way to open up an article, title an article, and then he eventually goes and says, "As the second furthest planet from the sun, it's rather difficult for researchers here on Earth to study it without sending spacecraft." It's just like, bro. I mean, that's a big balls. His first off title.
What's this guy's name? Mike Wenner?
Yeah, Wehner.
Sir, you have some big balls.
There are X-rays coming from Uranus, and then Uranus is big, cold, and mysterious. Made me wonder for a second, like, yo, how do you know? Like, has he been studying me? And then I found out he was studying
know.
the planets. So I was a little felt a little bit better. But yeah, not a strong candidate, but definitely one that I wanted to get out there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's better than Ramiro Alanis, a Florida-based personal trainer. He just broke the Guinness World Record for watching Avengers Endgame in a movie theater more times than any other person. Specifically, he broke the record for the most cinema productions attended, same film. Each viewing was in a movie theater. It's unclear how many movie theaters he watched the film in, but he did watch Endgame 191 times in 94 days, beginning on April 26th, 2019. As you've guessed, yes, this dude is from Florida. What else? What other state would he be from? This guy spent 100. Think about that. He spent nearly basically 6 to 7 hours a day watching this for nearly 3 months straight. If only we could get most of America to work 6 hours a day for that many. You know what I mean? Like, he's working harder watching movies than most of our country works.
Did he say why? Like, was he looking for something? Was he studying?
Is there a real reason? Do you need a reason for that?
No.
Some men just want to watch the world burn. Okay? There is no rhyme or reason. He seems very excited. It looks like he got pictures. I mean, he's definitely a huge. He did watch all the Avenger films back to back to back. I think there's 20. There's 22 film Marvel cinematic movies. And he watched them at one point. It took him 61 hours straight, but he watched all 22 films. So this guy is,
you know,
maniac.
When they say, like, built different, like you're in the gym or like you just, you don't need sleep to
I
focus.
I do.
You don't sleep a few straight days and no caffeine. You're like, I'm built different. Well, this man's built different, but just in like a different way, like not a good way. It's just like, dude, what are you doing?
Brett coming in and saying he's trying to figure out how to save Iron Man. I don't know what the hell he's doing, but it just seemed a little excessive for me.
That's a little?
It just seemed a little excessive. I've seen the movie, I think, twice, and I thought that was a lot. It's a long-ass movie. That movie's like three hours and like 13 minutes long or something. It's absurd.
If it was only a little excessive, what classifies like extremely excessive? Did he have to watch it every day for the year?
Well, he did. I mean, he watched it 191 times in 94 days, Mitch. Mitch, he literally watched it 2.0 something, like 1 maybe times a day. It was over 2 times a day, right?
Yeah, what are you? Did you say he's a personal trainer?
It's nearly 1. Yeah, no, never mind. Wrong math, but I'm not that far. I don't think.
But he's a personal trainer?
Actually, no, I am right. That is over once a day. I'm an idiot. Yeah, he is a personal trainer.
Well, who the hell's he training besides his eyeballs to watch this?
I don't know, but I don't know what wife would let you do this, right? And gosh, I forgot to ask you one of the more important questions. Can I go all the way back to segment 1 before we end the show?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. What are the rules? We were talking crap about, talking a lot of shit about Michael Rapaport and Kevin Durant for a lot of numerous reasons, but we didn't maybe talk about the worst part of the whole situation. It's the fact that Michael Rapaport leaked all these messages. And Michael Rapaport is the one who started this whole thing by reaching out to Kevin Durant. Is it ever all right to leak messages when you're having a discussion like that? Or is it fair game when someone's talking to you like that?
I think that for the most part, things should stay private. But I think that when Kevin Durant started saying some of the things he said, and I'm not talking about right away, but I mean, he started attacking Michael Rapaport's family. And I think when you start
he
attacking,
just said your wife probably thinks you're dumb just like I do. I don't think that's attacking his family. I mean, I think he was saying, I think your family also agrees with me that you're a douchebag. I didn't think that was I thought that was one of the nicer things he said.
When it comes to the wordplay, it absolutely was one of the nicer things he said.
Yeah.
I also just think that though, when you start going at different angles and you don't keep it, when you start trying to bring other people and other, I wasn't good at geometry. I had to retake math my senior year of high school, freshman math.
Yeah, geometry stuff. It's tough.
That was a different story, different time. I don't know. But listen, I think Michael Rapaport, he's been in some hot water with Barstool Sports and David Portnoy ever since he was let go from Barstool.
Well, and he just lost that defamation lawsuit against Barstool too. So he's feeling real salty right now.
First off, I don't know if he lost it as much as his lawyer did. I mean, his lawyer went in there and got absolutely owned by Dave Portnoy. Like, Dave Portnoy just absolutely shut his lawyer down. So that lawyer needs to never be a lawyer again. He needs to go work at a hot dog cart in New York or something, because that was bad. I mean, dude,
you don't create balls. Yeah. Go ahead.
And you got owned at your own game. Like, you're supposed to own these people that you're going after. And didn't work that way. Dave Portnoy looks like a genius, which, I mean,
he is. He started Barstool Sports. I mean, if you have the balls to do everything that he's done, did you really think that you were going to sit there in an enclosed room with him and make your demands and win that case? That wasn't going to happen. Not with Michael Rapaport's face.
No. Listen, I
applaud
Michael Rapaport for letting those out. No,
you applaud him?
Yeah, because Kevin Durant's a bitch, and I think everyone else needs reminded about it.
Oh my God!
I think, listen,
if anybody else would have done that, I'd probably been okay with it.
He'd been pretty quiet for a while. Think about it. We hadn't been talking about him, and just shows after multiple burner accounts trying to defend a decision you made 5 years ago, you're still, in my opinion, a weak-minded individual person when you're not playing basketball.
And Brett, also another good point. Look how Portnoy treated Call Her Daddy. He actually treated them really well. They treated him like shit, and then he burnt that after that. But, guys, this was episode 39. And since it's episode 39, we are going to do a shirt giveaway. So what we're going to do right now is, if you have Twitter, go retweet our live feed that we have going on right now. It'll be on our Cover Your Balls on Twitter. And tonight around, I think, 8:30, Mitch, is that when we talked about it?
Oh, yeah.
8:30 is when I'm going to pull a name out of a hat of everybody who's retweeted that, and you're going to get a shirt when we bring out shirts in 2 weeks. Obviously, we've bought some shirts, but that's because to try the sizes out for you guys, because if you're going to buy a Cover Your Ball shirt and you're going to be part of the ball pit, we want to make sure you get the right shirt, and it has to look good. We're not going to give you guys anything that looks anything less than excellent. So that's all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron tweets out hashtag strive for excellence. We're not going to be out here in the ball pit, put hashtag strive for good. It's just not how it works.
No. We need something better than good, right? Need something better than good. So stay tuned with us. It has to be on Twitter. So if you have to make a Twitter, so be it. If you want to be part of the contest, do it. Mitch, you got anything else to say? I thought today was great. I thought I just got a chance to talk with not only, my little brother, like my cousin, like my co-host, but Mitch Balla, somebody who is such in high demand these days for broadcasting and other things, had an opportunity to sit down with you guys. Make sure you check out Mitch's story and all the stuff he has going on. I got YouTube Premium yesterday so I could listen to him broadcast a Jackson Polar Bears baseball game. It went into extra innings. It was a great game. Check it out on YouTube. That's something else Mitch has going on. So, Mitch, I appreciate you being here on this Thursday with everything you got going on. Thank you for gracing everybody in the ball pit with your presence.
No, it's my honor to be here with you. It's my honor to be here with you. I have a duty for everyone in the ball pit, and that's to make sure I'm here on Thursday and make sure I'm here twice a week if possible.
Yeah, just twice a week. We'll figure out the details. We'll figure out the
dates. And for everyone out there that wonders, you just got to follow us. Tweet at us, just tell us what you think. And Jordan, last thing, the Yankees lose.
Thanks, Mitch. You just couldn't let me, wow, that grin on your face. If I could find the sound to play it, we'd be out of here by now. Yeah, that's all there is to it. I don't know why I can't find it. There it is. Hey guys, this was episode 39 to Cover Your Balls. I'm Jordan McKelly. Over.
I am
that way.
Mitch Balla.
That's Mitch Balla. This episode will be on Spotify, iTunes if you want to re-listen to it. Episode 40 coming next week. It's either going to be probably on Tuesday at 4 or Monday or whatever time we put it out on our social media, because Mitch and I are going to go through his baseball schedule right now. Guys, it's been real. Love you guys.
Doses.
Everybody in the ball pit. We'll see you on Twitter tonight.